Most pathetic attempt to impress a member of the opposite sex. I just remembered mine and laughed out loud. Was working out in our dorm gym when two hot girls came in to do their workouts. I took off my shirt and continued with my workout, like it was just something I do normally. For some reason, I thought the sight of my completely non-ripped, ordinary looking shirtless torso would make them realize that, yes, they wanted me, and taking my shirt off was in no way a creepy and pathetic ploy. Oh man, I did the old shirt remove at a drunken high school party. My torso is unremarkable. One of the gay guys rubbed my chest a little, so it wasn't a total loss. When I was 12 or so, I decided I wanted to flirt with a boy. Unfortunately, all I'd heard about flirting at that stage was that it involved lots of eye contact. I must have eye laser stared that boy down for a solid hour or so. Haha, and every time he looked at you to see if that crazy girl was still awkwardly staring at him, you thought he was flirting back with you. My 12-year-old self had read in a cheesy teen magazine that girls with good posture seem more attractive. I saw that the boy I liked was walking toward me down the hall and immediately straightened my back as he passed by, smiling with confidence. Another plus. Moments after, my best friend laughed at me for so obviously trying to stick out my boobs. You know that game where you tap the top of a friend's beer bottle with the bottom of yours to make it froth all over the place so he has to drink it quickly? So our friend Victoria tries this out on a guy she is trying to pick up for ages. You know, as a conversation starter, he was just chilling so was not expecting what happened. She knocked the beer out of his hand where it shattered on the floor by his feet. She turned away and walked back to us mortified. Never said a word to the bloke. Just went up to him and smashed his beer. Poor girl. Man, it still kills me thinking about it 10 years later. I bought and sent myself roses on Valentine's Day in order to convince the girls in my 10th grade class that I had admirers. Everybody just thought of me as the creepy guy who bought himself flowers. I remember in 4th or 5th grade, this girl I crushed on who I used to be friends with a few years before, who had moved away, was back in town for someone's skate party. I didn't know she was going to be there but got all excited because I hadn't seen her since she moved away. Of course the logical thing to do would be to go up and say hey how are ya? Instead, I thought I'd get her attention by skating along the wall of the rink near her, then start accidentally slipping and falling, making a huge scene so that she'd have to look over and see me. Then she'd say, OMG Mark Noss, it's you? I haven't seen you in so long. I tried this 3 times before I stopped making a fool of myself. Here comes Mark Noss again, acting like an butthole in front of everybody. I'll just ignore him. Maybe he won't come talk to me. In a monologue that for you. I'm sorry. Oh god, it was painful to remember this. I think I was 10. I wrote a letter to a girl, then went around my house and found as much spare change as I could. I stuck all of this change to a long strip of scotch tape and stuck it in the envelope with the letter. Gave it to her the next day. I honestly have no recollection of what followed, probably blocking out the trauma. I laughed a long time at this. The image of this absurdly long piece of tape, probably all twisted up, with coins, hair, lint and other crumbs all stuck to it, raffle. Talking to a girl, she said she was bored. I suggested we go fight crime together. It got awkward quickly. We did not fight crime that night. For context, this was at the end of a physics lecture when I was at first year uni. If I ever end up single again, I'm absolutely stealing that one. When I was in 6th grade, I heard that a girl I liked wanted a Harley Davidson for her birthday, jokingly of course. So I bought a model kit of a Harley Davidson motorcycle and spent 2 weeks assembling and painting it. After it was finished, I dropped it off at her house because I was too shy to give it to her in person. And then I sat around at home waiting for her to respond somehow. She finally mailed me a note saying thanks for the Holly. It's really neat. I was really disappointed, but looking back I don't know what was I expecting. Another time I was driving a girl back to school from lunch, 11th grade, when I saw a pretty flower growing in someone's front yard, and I thought she might like it. Without warning I pulled over to the curb and jumped out of the car, tramped through the garden, picked the flower and handed it to her. She was mortified. I guess she didn't consider blatant daylight theft destruction of property romantic. When I was 14 I was at the local mall waiting to cross the street. Some really attractive girls about my age were on the other side, so I casually tried to tap the pedestrian cross button. I ended up slamming it with the side of my hand, breaking my hand in the process trying to look cool. It was a weird design. Had to get my mom to come grab me and take me to the doctor. Talk about awkward. Early in high school, I was keen on the girl that sat behind me. She really liked Hershey Kisses. I mean really liked them. She would have some almost every day. So one day I bought a big bag with the intentions of giving it to her. I turned around in class the next day and put the bag in front of her on her desk. She said, "I don't want those." Crap. Immediate red face. I responded, I know. I was just showing you I had them." She totally believed me. There was this hot girl in 7th grade, and she always commented on how she loved my eyes. So whenever I was around her I tried to stand almost directly in the sun so it shone off my beautiful retinas. It never worked. I had a girl tell me she liked my eyes when I was around 10. I walked around keeping my eyes open as wide as I could for the rest of the day. I was such a loser. Back when I was in, 2nd grade I tried to make myself look really tough, like I could take a lot of pain, by slapping myself across the face really hard several times in the middle of class, making sure the cute girls saw me, of course. I did the same thing. That, or I would grab a ruler, bend it back and let it hit me in the throat. One time I made a stuffed mummy doll for a girl. It looked horrible, but I gave it to her anyway, and then I was too embarrassed to call her after that. When I was in 3rd grade during outdoor soccer, every time I was near her I pretended to be a Goliath from StarCraft. Yep, Goliath is online. I'm at band camp on a college campus. Classes weren't in session for a weekend, and there's this really cute girl playing the sax in the same makeshift band. Now, mind you, this was probably grade 8 or so I wasn't very smart yet. There's this dance on the second night, and she comes over and asks me to dance. Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. I had been staring at her for the previous 2 days, and she must have liked what she saw, or something. I was in heaven. Anyways, we leave the dance together and start walking across a field to our respective rooms. She then asks me if I knew my way around the bedroom. I responded, "Do I ever?" I then proceeded to take off my shoes, tie the strings together, and toss my shoes into a tree. I told her I'd see her tomorrow. I then proceeded to climb the tree to retrieve my shoes. It was later that night that I realized what she was asking me. Anything I've done to impress a girl ever. In high school I once made a song in Fruity Loops for a girl and gave her a CD of it. Pathetic and creepy. Also, it seems that my encyclopedic knowledge of the Twilight Zone doesn't seem to attract women at all. Imagine that. My encyclopedic knowledge of the Twilight Zone doesn't seem to attract women at all. That's where you're wrong. I was in junior high school, and the girl in question's locker was right next to mine, and every day, she tried to start a conversation with me, and to my eternal chagrin, I decided every day to not answer and just look back blankly, assuming that was clearly the prime way to flirt. Needless to say, she hates me now. This thread is making me realize that a lot of the guys in high school who were complete buttholes to me and ignored me and generally made me feel unattractive by ignoring my advances probably just had the hots for me. At least that's what I'm going to keep telling myself. When I was 11 I used to challenge other guys to race me in a sprint across the playground. I was fast and I'd always win. Figured that would impress them. Hahaha, yep, never worked. I walked slower in front of some girls once. Noticeably slower. It was uncomfortable for all parties. Then I sped up and left and it was only then uncomfortable for me. I can beat that. I sped up to walk next to a girl on my way to class but couldn't think of a good opener, so we just had a silent 3-minute walk and then split. Spent an entire paycheck, around $500 at the time, I seem to recall, on scotch, for the entire bar, in an effort to impress some girl there. Instead, I blacked out. The next day, I woke up in my friend's basement missing my shirt, my socks, one shoe, my keys, my wallet, and my cell phone. Retracing my steps, my shirt was on the front lawn. Socks were in the back of the truck I was hauled into to get me home. Shoe was in front of the bar. Keys were in the possession of the hot girl I tried to hit on. phone and wallet were at the bar because I apparently asked the bartender to hold them for me while I did some unspecified, thankfully, trick. Needless to say, girl was not impressed. I'm just glad I don't remember the evening. I don't need that embarrassment stuck in my memory. It's amazing that you managed to find everything. Kindergarten, Thanksgiving potluck. I was a pilgrim, wanted to be an Indian, sat next to the girl I had a crush on, Alicia. Noticed she was eating my mom's mashed potatoes. Do you like the mashed potatoes? Yay. I blushed up, picked up my tray and walked away. Basically everything I did from 7th 12th grade. Totally in love with this one guy. Here's a rundown of a few things I did. Integrated myself into his social circle. Started reading up on politics to impress him with my knowledge. He went through various religious phases, and I read up on each and every single one of them. I was Buddhist and refused to eat red meat for like 5 years. Pretended to like Metallica because he was into them. I don't think I've listened to more than 5 of their songs, but I had this Metallica sweatshirt that I wore all the time. Read Lord of the Rings. Actually ended up loving it and being a huge nerd for it. Wrote him love letters. I can't remember if I ever sent any to him or not. I probably wrote him terrible 13-year-old poetry too. Oh man, I can't stop laughing at this trip down memory lane. I am sure there are so many more embarrassingly pathetic things that I did, but I can't recall them right now. I finally got him to agree to marry me though, so I guess everything turned out better than expected. Whoa, twist ending. Congrats. A girl I liked added me on MySpace and I saw some quiz that she had on there, so I copied and pasted it and filled out the answers to make me seem hilarious and like we were totally into the same things and meant to be together. It's just so lame now that I think of it. I've done the same thing, only I missed one of the questions, so the answer was her exact wording. I don't know if this is the most pathetic thing, but it makes for a good story. Back in the day, I was 22 or something, and hung out with a large crowd of friends on Friday. An attractive 19-20-year-old girl is there and mentions she's into card games like bridge, which is a wacky hobby for a hot girl her age, but whatever. For some reason I say I'm into bridge too, because one time in HS I'd played a game of bridge. The girl is just in town for the weekend visiting friends. We all head home. The next day I get a call randomly and it's bridge girl. She found out about a bridge tournament in town and since I mentioned that I play, she wants me to be her partner. Sure, I'll be there. Get on the internet and spend the next 3 very frantic hours reading the rules to bridge, then playing several games at a time on Yahoo Games to try to get as good as I possibly can, since I really had no idea how to play to begin with. We go to the tournament, where we're pretty much the only people under the age of 50, and I kind of suck and I guess she knew I was not an experienced bridge player. But oh well, she seemed to have fun. It never went past playing bridge with her. Forever alone. Prob not all that pathetic but makes me flush every time I think of it. In grade 9, I sat across the aisle from a cute girl in business class. I was kinda friends with her and there was usually a lot of chatting time in the class, so you'd think that I could just flirt with her etc. Nope. I clasped my hands and stared, nay, glowered, straight ahead of me the entire time, completely ignoring her the entire year because I wanted to appear mysterious and deep. The worst part was that when she had no one to talk to, she started talking to the fat kid next to her. So naturally I took my game up another notch and stared dead ahead even harder. I can't believe I ever thought that was a viable strategy. This was pretty much my strategy in junior high as well. It took me a surprisingly long time to realize that people like you better when you talk to them and look them in the eyes and stuff. When I saw The Lion King in 3rd grade, I thought Mufasa's giant, open maw yawns were the coolest. So when a boy I liked spoke to me, instead of speaking to him as a normal human being would, I let out a huge, exaggerated, bestial yawn. Like I was not only so cool that his lame boss conversation starter bored me, I was also a freaking wild animal. I still cringe whenever I think about it. This is the greatest thing I've ever read. Like the rest of you, I was in middle school and a cute girl sat next to me. When we had lectures, I pretended to be cool and fake sleeping, hoping she would wake me up and I could look like a rebel badass. Turns out I was woken up by the teacher. I got detention and that girl gave me a death glare. My freshman year of college, a really hot guy always sat next to me, which made me think he liked me, and apparently he didn't, which peed me off. Anyway, I loved it when he fell asleep because it gave me an excuse to touch his biceps to wake him up. Whoa, typing that makes it even more weird. I told a girl she would look good even with a bag over her head. I honestly thought it was a good line until I noticed the face she was making. Back in 8th grade, I posted on this girl's truth box some anonymous comment app on MySpace, pretending to be one of her friends. Asked her if she thought I was cute and she said yes, even though she replied yes under false pretenses. I was too much of a goober to ever make anything of it. Sorry to break it to you, Big Al, but she knew it was you and she wanted you to ask her out. When I was in school, I had a crush on a girl named Caroline. For a while, I wanted to break into her locker so that I could place within it a homemade tape recorder which would play Sweet Caroline when the locker was opened. I had the tape recorder ready but I never got the locker open. I guess there's nothing more to say. 9th grade or so, I was incapable of talking in any reasonable way to good-looking girls. I had decided that the way to make myself attractive to them was by being so off-putting that they'd have to take notice. At a friend's pool party, a pretty fresh-faced girl struck up some chatter. I proceeded to baselessly insult her before quickly jumping backwards into the pool fully clothed with shoes on. When my head poked back out of the water, she had moved the heck on just like any self-respecting person would. I was such a stupid piece of crap. You are dumb and ugly and I am downvoting you. Backflips into pool fully clothed. Mine is the most pathetic. I was probably 6 or 7. A woman who used to babysit me, she was probably 21 or 22, was coming over to my house to visit my parents. I used to watch a lot of Star Trek and assumed that everyone did. So, as soon as she comes in the door, I started walking up and down the halls and stuff pretending to adjust a shitload of touchscreen flight controls or something, hoping it would impress her. It did not, because she was 15 years older than me, and I was a 6-year-old Trekkie. Honestly, that's not pathetic, that's as cute as a whole basket full of kittens. 10th grade, I'm socially stupid, diagnosed Aspie, but slowly accepting the fact that if I want a socially acceptable life I need to learn and do socially acceptable things. Man, it's been a long road, but I digress. So, there's this really cute girl in my art class. Tamara was her name, and I'm really surprised I remember that after 15 years. Anyways, I have no idea how to hit on her or even talk to her, and I'm extra intimidated because while she was the stereotypical nerdy cute girl with glasses, she also hung around the stereotypical popular girls who love to just chew your face off for doing something stupid like sneezing or something. One of them already disliked me because she was a fast sneezer, someone who sneezes over and over quickly instead of just one big one. And I compulsively counted her sneezes and after a few weeks informed her of how there was a variance in the median number of sneezes depending on her location and suggested a course change to improve her health. But I digress. So, I gather from my research that girls don't like direct personal confrontation about these things, appreciate choice, and enjoy a little ego boost. The clear choice to me at the time is to type an anonymous note, print it off, put it in her folder in class when no one is looking, and see what happens. It didn't go okay. After her and her friends got done giggling over the note and reading it several times aloud to each other, which I didn't know would be normally expected behavior, she gets a little embarrassed about the whole thing. Again expected but I didn't know. Asks a few people, but me first, if we'd written the letter. So I of course decide the correct solution is to write her another letter explaining that I was harmless and sorry to embarrass her and yada yada yada. When she finds this one, someone loudly comments that she has a stalker, and typical high school harassing commences. So I write a third letter explaining that I'm definitely not a stalker and I'm really sorry if she got that impression and etc etc. Then my dad finds the letter while snooping through my wallet, has no context. There's an entire evening of trying to convince my parents that I'm not actually stalking a girl, and an addendum to the note is made explaining how I really think she's cute and wonderful but I'm obviously no good at this so don't worry you'll never hear from me again. Then I put my head down and hoped we'd move again soon. So, TLDR, I got the cute girl I had a crush on to talk to me, utterly failed at capitalizing, then proceeded to slightly scar her and get in a huge fight with my folks that likely resulted in them calling the school to confirm I wasn't actually stalking anyone. I compulsively counted her sneezes and after a few weeks informed her of how there was a variance in the median number of sneezes depending on her location and suggested a course change to improve her health. Yeah, you tell that be her median variance. Seriously though, that's actually kinda awesome. When I was around 11-12, I had a Hershey's Kiss with me. I do not remember the reason why, but apparently someone was handing out Hershey's Kisses. I asked this girl I liked but never really talked to, would you like to trade a kiss for a kiss? I was laughed at. That's actually a pretty smooth line. On behalf of my gender, sorry for 12-year-old B. Back in Italy when I was a frisky 15-year-old, I tried to impress some girls I knew who were hanging out at the end of the pier, diving off, swimming, etc. I pulled up on my motorbike and performed the smooth motherfucking dismount by swinging my leg up and over the fuel tank, so I'd come to rest with both feet on the ground, leaning casually against the side of my parked bike. On this particular day I swung my leg over the fuel tank, brought my feet into perfect alignment, leaned back against the bike and heard this tiny hissing noise. It turns out that the hissing noise was the hair and flesh of my calf melting against the sizzling hot exhaust pipe. My leg exploded with pain, and all I could think to do, to neutralize the burn, was jump headfirst into the sea. I still wonder what those girls thought, seeing this wannabe suave Italian-Australian kid, gracefully swinging himself out of his motorbike seat, then, moments later, screaming like a banshee while diving headfirst off a pier. Just tell them you're Italian-Australian, that should be enough. Not too long ago at a party, I was trying to impress a guy, so I put a can of Sparks in my cleavage and drank out of it with no hands. That's actually pretty freaking impressive. I can't even picture how. The frick. It looks like I'm late to the party, but I got one that happened recently. About a year ago when I was 19, me and a few friends snuck into a bar and proceeded to drink heavily. Sometime after my 7th beer I spotted a very cute girl standing across the bar. For some reason I decided that putting on an Irish accent would be my golden ticket. I stand next to her and ask the bartender for a pint of the proper. This immediately got her attention and we ended up talking for almost an hour, in which I told her how I am a foreign exchange student from Dublin. Anyway, I ended up going home with her, and upon waking up and spending more time together I realized I really like this girl. We ended up dating for 2 months. For 2 months I spoke with an Irish accent whenever she was around. My friends were complete dongs about it and kept asking me questions about my homeland, but I managed to keep up this facade. Anyway, one day me and her go to a restaurant and I just happened to run into my cousin. I tried to keep the accent going, but he asked what was with the funny talk. Needless to say, it was a very fun dinner, and surprisingly she didn't want to continue seeing me after she found out. TL. Doctor spoke with an Irish accent for 2 months to impress a girl. Story time. 5th grade, 11 years old, I was madly infatuated with a cute Irish girl at my school. One day, on a rainy day on a playground, we were playing around this jungle gym-like structure, and I decided to try to impress her by running up a steep, slippery, metal slide up to her. As I dashed up said slide, she was looking down at me with a smile. With the amount of rainwater on the slide, I quickly slipped halfway through and slammed my face into the slide. I immediately picked my head up, felt a sensation in my mouth, and said to myself, what the heck are these salty pebbles in my mouth? I then proceeded to spit out my shattered 2 front teeth all over the slide I was then lying on. I immediately panicked, ran to the duty and said I need to go to the nurse's office right now. Right when what was left of one of my 2 broken teeth popped out and landed on the concrete in front of her. I don't remember too much after that, just a lot of crying from me and my mother breaking down in the emergency dentist's office because of how sorry she felt for me. I couldn't eat solid food for days, had to wear metal for the rest of the year, and after years of trying to save the teeth with injections and procedures, getting a root canal and a bridge to replace what was left of them. 13 years later, I still have nightmares about my teeth breaking and falling out on a weekly basis. Worst part of the story, that girl moved during the week I was recovering, and I never saw her again. TL. DR. I tried to impress a girl in 5th grade, shattered my 2 front teeth doing so, and never saw her again. Thanks for reading. Equals 3. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.